Start for Trice. That's Chase, and what a start for Cincinnati. And he has the football. Bijan Robinson, he's going to have his first touchdown. Gibbs out of the backfield right away. Oh, yeah, there's no question that he was grabbed. They got ridiculous. They got Gibbs one-on-one with Andrew Van Ginkel in space, and that was it.
And this is, again, it's man-to-man. It's one-on-one, and he's underneath. He loses his balance. Block Bowers is one of those guys that has a huge, and this is...
What's up, everybody? Welcome into Week 18 Live Start Sit Edition with the Fatboyz, presented by the Fantasyholics Podcast Network. First and foremost, Happy New Year to everybody out there. Hope you and yours are off to a good start for 2026. Speaking of not great starts, well, actually, we'll start with a great start. Brant, your Seahawks have clinched the #1 seed in the NFC. Very good, very good conference play this year. It wasn't like years past where it's been one team in the NFC that's very clear-cut and above the rest. And your Seahawks emerged as the team with a good win over the 49ers last night. On to other good news. My Atlanta Falcons sound like they still may make a coaching and GM change, so I've got that to look forward to. And then even better, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans have to root against the Atlanta Falcons today. Carolina Panther fans have to root for us. Whole lot going on, but as far as fantasy goes, it's going to be a scary week this week. So, Brant, how you feel in Week 18?
Yeah, definitely going to be a scary week for fantasy. The main games were played last night where everybody had something to play for. And then you got one tonight in the Ravens and Steelers game. And then the Falcons are going to have the most watched game on the slate this Saturday or this Sunday as well, with 4 different fan bases watching. Plus now the Niners are going to be watching, and the Rams are going to be watching, all to see who they have possibly got to play. Because they have a chance at the 5 and 6 seed. There is a lot of seedings that could be moved around, but unfortunately the matchups won't be the greatest, as you see, like Denver's playing against I don't even have the schedule in front of me right now. Denver, I think, is playing
Lance.
Yeah, they're playing against the resting Chargers, and that defense is resting. So the matchups weren't the greatest for seeding changes. The Titans and the Jags playing with the Titans have nothing to play for, but the Jags can still play for the conference. The Colts are starting Riley Leonard against Houston, and that defense, and Houston wins, they get the division. So there is there's a few things, for teams to play for, but the matchups aren't the greatest for it. Unfortunately, I think we are going to, and I do say unfortunately, I do think the first round of the playoffs is going to be where you get to watch Green Bay play Chicago again. So another thriller game is possibly on tap for one of the wild card weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Got our first comment here from the Fantasyholics. Says, "Good morning, fellas. Why on earth do people play fantasy in Week 18?" Yeah, I've never understood that one, especially when you get onto slates like this. If you add Justin Herbert or whatever, your better guys aren't even playing in those 2-week playoff formats that ESPN has. So yeah, it's definitely scary times for the fantasy community. But Brant and I wanted to make sure we were out here, got live for all you people that are playing Week 18, and for the other sickos that just can't help themselves but watch football, even when it's meaningless football. So here we are, Brant.
Yeah, absolutely. I did see something kind of cool, and I was going to bring this up to you in the offseason and possibly even talk about it, is turning Week 18 into bowl games, where the commissioners set up matchups just for Week 18, and then the matchups they play for the incentives, because I don't really know why you would play your fantasy championship Week 18. As you see a bunch of players sitting, there's very few incentives that are reachable this late in the year, but yeah. It's a weird time, Week 18. Always is.
Always, for sure, always. Jay comes at us, the graphic guru, the guy behind all the ingenious things that the Fantasy Holics team put out, says, "Good fellas, good morning. What underdog plays y'all got for today?" Jay, you're going to have to hold out with us for a little bit. That is a time filler. We got a little bit later on in the show if things get a little boring here with Week 18, most of us being done for the fantasy season. So give us a little bit, and we will cover those. We definitely are coming at everybody with underdog plays this week, as always.
Yeah, we got some underdog plays. We got our touchdown scorers, which we had to dig a little bit for all of these plays. And then also I went ahead and grabbed, a touchdown scorer for each game, but I don't feel comfortable enough to even attempt to put 50 cents on it because I think half of them might end up getting ruled out by the time that plays. But yeah, so I mean, it's a weird, and yet Ryan comes at us. I'm going to go ahead and put this on here. The champs are live in a league that we discussed possibly making moves in the offseason of going down and just saying, hey, let's hit rebuild. We played with no QBs for one QB for half the year. And then we turned around and made a bunch of moves, and we definitely were able to move on in more of our Fantasy Holics leagues that we co-own and win that championship.
Including a last-minute trade to go get Geno Smith to start at quarterback that helped secure a championship.
Title, baby. Geno Smith to the title game.
Yeah, this is a team we were 500 in. We tried to sell off some pieces all season, couldn't get any offers for anybody, and said, to hell with it. Let's just go all in on our end and see what happens. We made trades, got CeeDee Lamb, Chris Olave, Christian McCaffrey. Who else? So there was another big name we got there, the running back.
We got Jordan Love to help us out. We got Breece Hall for future.
George Kittle we traded for. So yeah, it was one of those. And I will say, Brant, I'll give you a chance to say as well. I am a 2-time champ this year. I did win another of our leagues that we play in a home league. So I did get 2. Did lose the money, the main one. To you 2 weeks ago. You ended up getting second in that league. Definitely regret having to hand that trophy off this year, but nonetheless, still got some money sprinkled in there. It's a good season for the Fatboyz. Fantasy Inc. comes out.
Yeah, definitely was. I had a first. We had the championship there with you in our co-own league, and then I had second place finish in our home league.
Brant's having some technical difficulties over there, I believe. So if you can hear me, Brant, go ahead and finish out with how you did this year.
I thought I was going to have a first, second, third finish in 3 of the main leagues, and then Colby Parkinson happened to score 14 points, and it was a different story. I finished first, second, and fourth, so I'm okay with that. Got enough to sprinkle back into the pots next year and be able to play again.
Okay, all right.
Fantasy Inc. comes at us with who's your biggest hit and miss of 2025. I haven't dove completely into this. I think one of the big hits has to be George Pickens. He was a later round draft pick, ADP, and I think he still finished inside the top 10. I'm not going to pull that league up. It's a little boosted. Yeah, Pickens finished as number 4, and I believe his ADP was definitely later in the draft. So I think he's got to be one of the biggest hits. One of the biggest misses, I got to go with Barkley. He was top 2 pick, top 3 pick in most leagues, and he finished outside of the top 12 running backs there. So yeah, he's got to be one of the biggest misses. I know there's a few more in there, and I think you and me are going to discuss on some of those when we get back into our live shows this week.
Yeah, for me, the biggest hit was Chris Olave. Coming off a wide receiver 90 or 94 finish last season after only playing 8 games. Career best was wide receiver 16 2 years ago. In our home league, our big league that and I was able to acquire Chris Olave in early September for Deebo Samuel, and I even got a 3rd-round pick included in that trade. And Chris Olave finished as wide receiver 6. So Chris Olave was probably one of the biggest hits for me this year, I think, and for most people in fantasy. Biggest miss, man, that's tough. Marvin Harrison Jr. still feels like a pretty big miss at this point. Wide receiver 46 this season. I know he missed some games. Trying to think. There's got to be somebody else out there who was way overdrafted and underperformed. Justin Jefferson feels like a miss just because of how inconsistent the quarterback play was. See if I can
wide receiver 26
else. Yeah, that's a miss for sure. Honestly, I don't want to hurt your feelings here, but Kenneth Walker was a huge miss this year at running back 20. That was
biggest headache in fantasy.
That feels really disappointing for people. Bucky Irving, running back 31, feels like a miss.
Yeah, definitely the running backs. But then let's talk about two hits. Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell both finished, guys completely forgot about. Warren finished as RB19, and I think Gainwell was RB20. Both finished inside the running back room's, RB2 range. Definitely had some great weeks. Those guys were definitely forgot about, afterthoughts in a lot of drafts, and they were grabbed late, and they both finished in the top 24 running backs.
I can't believe I didn't come to mind right off the bat, probably because I own him nowhere because I wasn't that interested to begin with. Brian Thomas Jr. has to be the biggest miss of the year, does he not? I mean, this guy was a top 10 wide receiver in startup drafts. Huge trade asset people were going after in the offseason, finished as wide receiver 44 this year, developing the yips, and even down the stretch getting replaced as the one in the offense by Jacoby Myers. That definitely feels like a pretty big miss for a lot of folks in fantasy football.
Yeah, definitely is. And then they added Jacoby, and that definitely took another backseat and took some more hits off of BTJ. And then Hunter, we saw have good performances as well. So yeah, those are definitely going to be. That's definitely one of the guys that I'm sure we're going to discuss a lot during this offseason.
Mark Andrews feels like a pretty big letdown at tight end 18. Yeah, I mean, it was just honestly, this fantasy football season was kind of one of the strangest ones we've had in recent memory, Brant. I feel like this season's definitely going to change the way I kind of look at some things moving forward next year. I think we kind of learned from the you start your studs until you can't start them anymore kind of trend this year, because if you did that all season with Brian Thomas Jr., with Justin Jefferson, with some of these other names, you probably missed out on some points that were sitting on your bench that probably outperformed those guys all season. So definitely something that's going to be an adaptation I'm going to make taking into my fantasy season for next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, as you see, some of the coaches don't lie. They came out in Seattle and they said they were going to split that backfield and split it, and they did. You never knew which one to start. That was one of the biggest headaches. Some coaches talk maybe, just smoke, but some of it's true, and you got to live by. So you got to look at that a little bit more in the past and look at how the coaches do it. And I just use Seattle because definitely we're the biggest headache in my mind in fantasy running backs that we've probably had in recent years. Both I think ended up getting over 1,000 rushing yards, though. Don't know how.
We are about 60 seconds here away from inactives for week 18.
He's coming up. He says, "What's up, fellas?" Okay, my computer is moving. So this morning, Tony says, "What's up, fellas?" Me, Tony. He's over there in Vegas. The game for tour of the locker room there in Vegas looks real sweet. So he's going to go enjoy that game today. I don't know how much you can enjoy a Vegas game, but the stadium looks real nice.
Should be getting some inactives here in any second now. Well, I guess while we wait for inactives, Brant, are you going to be like the rest of the country and jumping on to watch that Saints at Falcons game on the 1 o'clock slate, or what are you watching?
Oh, I am definitely watching that Falcons Saints game. I'll tune into a few other games. I'll probably have a little 4-way box going on my Sunday ticket. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching that one extremely close for the 12 o'clock. And then I'll watch the Rams and Cardinals for that 3 o'clock slate. See if the Niners are going to slide one more spot or if they're going to stick with that 5 spot.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, today's kind of an interesting day. Obviously for the 1 o'clock slate, I'm going to watch my Falcons for the last time in this season. Thank God. That's been a complete punishment in its own right. Bittersweet. Hopefully tomorrow, Black Monday is a thing for the Atlanta Falcons this year, and we get the exit of Raheem Morris. But reports are he's probably safe, especially if he wins today. So that stinks. But there are some games today that are of interest to me. I was a huge Trey Lance guy coming out of college. Loved Trey Lance. I'd like to see if Trey Lance can go out and earn himself a payday next year, getting that start against one of the better defenses in football with nobody really to throw to. So that'll be really interesting to see. I'm definitely going to be glued in on this Sunday night contest tonight. I think that should be one of the better games of the day. Where we have two teams that definitely have everything to play for. The Lions-Bears game, I'm still going to be interested in that one as well. You got former offensive coordinator versus, the former head coach or the head coach of the Lions used to be Ben Johnson used to be his offensive coordinator. So that'd be interesting to see. There's definitely some slates that set up to be interesting, but there's a lot of hogwash around them. So just got to kind of weed through all that.
Yeah, definitely.
Jennifer comes at us and says, thank you guys for helping me this season. I got a couple of ships. See you in the off season. Well done, Jennifer. That's what it's all about. That's what we're here for. That's why we all do this ultimately, is to go out and win those championships and have bragging rights for next season.
Yep. Congratulations, Jennifer. Glad we could help you out. This is always fun to do. Always a pleasure to do. We'll definitely be coming at you with this offseason, or coming at you in the offseason with a lot of content as well as we move forward. And as you talk about watching some of these, games today where a lot of backers are playing, this is a chance to really see maybe who can make some noise and move their way up in the depth chart over the offseason. This is your first look into training camp, or players moving on to wide receivers that may move in free agency. Find out maybe who the Jets' next running back is going to be, as Breece Hall is sitting out, and we know he's set to hit free agency, and he's definitely not happy there at the Jets. So I don't see them putting a contract in front of him. So maybe we get to see who the next running back is there. Who's going to be the wide receivers outside of Garrett Wilson next year there in their Miami.
Oh, we got Patrick coming at us with who's your favorite off-season buy low candidate. Oh man. I mean, for me, it's one of those things that you kind of look at guys that are kind of forgotten about. Travis Hunter will be somebody that I'm intrigued in trying to buy low on potentially this offseason. Braylon Allen, as Brant just alluded to, Breece Hall will be gone there in New York next year. Braylon Allen will be somebody that I'm interested in trying to buy cheap this offseason. Trey Benson's probably another name that I'll look into trying to acquire real low. Again, these are guys that may not be the starter next year, but off the rip, you're looking at guys that could potentially be available for third, fourth round rookie picks in your draft. Little dart throws that, worst case scenario, they get a little bit of a run time next year and you get a little more value than you would for a fourth. So, just kind of low end running backs is kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at Kenneth Walker, as you alluded to, because he is set to be a free agent as well in this offseason and could end up going somewhere where he could be a starter. I have no idea. This is a guy that you could probably buy low. You can convince, hey, this was a headache, so that's one guy. Blake Corum's another guy that I know he's had a pretty good year, but they've shown that he's very serviceable. And, the Rams, the way they set up that backfield, this Blake Corum could be a guy that could be a low-end RB2 next year, RB3 flex start every single week. Like you alluded to, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, both of those guys are definitely guys I'm looking at. And then you go over and you look, the Giants, who's going to be the wide receiver 2 outside of Malik Neighbors because he's set to be back. And that Giants offense should take a huge step forward as you get Neighbors back. You should get Dart fully healthy. Completely Scatabo, back to healthy. And then the Chiefs, again, all the Chiefs players you could probably be buying low on. I don't know if you will on Rashee Rice, but and I don't know if you really want to on Kelsey with this being possibly his last year. But the way the Chiefs played this year, all of them could end up being buy low candidates because, mid-season, you're probably looking at Patrick Mahomes coming back. You're probably going to miss the first 3 weeks with Patrick Mahomes. But all those wide receivers that are there are definitely going to get a huge upgrade mid-season to make that playoff push next year. So trying to buy low on those guys early could be a big thing.
For sure.
Kevin says, what's your Super Bowl prediction? I want to say Seattle, but I don't trust Sam Darnold. I still don't. And, if we keep the ball out of his hands, maybe. But I still think it's I think it's I want to say Seattle, but I think it's the Rams. Man, that AFC. I think New England comes out. I really do. I think it's the Rams in New England.
Yeah, honestly, this is Kevin, the most wide open crapshoot playoffs that I can remember in recent years, where there's not just one clear-cut dominant team that looks to be every team that even whether you talk about the Denver Broncos, the New England Patriots, the Seattle Seahawks, these teams that have these really, really good records, you can look at each one of those teams and pick out a clear flaw with each one of those teams that could cost them down the stretch in the playoffs. So it's really interesting this year. I think, when you get into it, I think it's just so wide open that every team that makes the playoffs this year is going to have a chance. As bad as this sounds, if the Buccaneers or Panthers make it, whichever one of those two makes it, they're going to have a chance to win some games. It wouldn't shock me at all for the Buccaneers to represent the NFC this year. As bad as they've been, they have enough firepower and offense, they could do it. It's not my pick, but I'm just saying that's how wide open it is this year. I think if I had to pick, I'm going to go Buffalo Bills and 49ers just because I think that would be super fun Super Bowl. San Fran being in the hometown, Josh Allen finally getting over the curse of having to go through Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. I think that'd be really fun. But yeah, I think it's so wide open this year that regardless, we're going to have a Super Bowl that I think is going to be very fun this year. And then I think a lot of American or people in general, NFL fans in general, I say Americans because it's predominantly Americans that watch it, but NFL fans in general are going to be tuning into the Super Bowl because it's going to be fresh faces. It's going to be somebody we're not used to seeing. And I think for me that there's a lot of intrigue in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, any team has a chance. The Jaguars have come on late, strong as all get up. And then, Houston's defense has been amazing. That defense comes out and they play like they have against some of the top tier quarterbacks at any game this playoffs. And you're seeing them walk through with only giving up 13 points a game to some of these high powered offenses. So, I mean, the defensive level in the playoffs right now is tremendous. I mean, you talk about the Niners. Yes, they're banged up, but they still have a pretty good defense. The Rams somehow always put a defense on the field that can limit people. Then you got Houston coming on. You got Jacksonville.
Not when they play Atlanta.
Then you got Houston coming on, and then you got the Jags defense committing turnovers. Yeah, I don't know what happened last week. That was so funny to watch from my point of view. But I mean, these defenses, and then New England always has a good defense out there regardless of who the coach is.
Absolutely.
Fantasy ain't coming at us with knowing Kenneth Walker, he'll sign with the Jets. Wouldn't be a bad signing. Would have to beat out Braylon Allen because I do think Braylon Allen is an amazing prospect and could be a great running back to lean on, and they're young enough that Braylon Allen should be the future. But yeah, you're definitely right. I could see Kenneth Walker going to the Jets. I also could see him going to the Cowboys if Javonte Williams steps away. And I think that'd be a great fit for him. I don't think the Jets are going to be out looking for a running back to spend money on. And I think that they're going to rely on the two that they have, two young faces to go with that team. But we'll see. But yeah, no, Kenneth Walker, I do think that he is going to sign somewhere where it's probably going to be a committee just because it looks better for him. And this is the first year he's been really healthy almost all year where they did split that workload for him.
Yep. Kevin says if Josh Allen doesn't make it to the Super Bowl without Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, there might need to be a conversation to be had. There is still a chance Lamar Jackson could be in the playoffs, so maybe that's Josh Allen's saving grace. But yeah, I think Josh Allen is going to be the premier quarterback in all of the playoffs. Honestly, both sides, he is the number one quarterback that will be playing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Counterpoint, he still doesn't have any elite weapons on offense outside of James Cook. I mean, there's excuses that you can make all day long for these guys. But yeah, it definitely feels like this is his postseason to make a run.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I said, you got to go through, Drake May, who's playing phenomenal. You got to go through Houston's defense. You got to go through possibly Lamar Jackson, like you said, or Pittsburgh, who Mike Tomlin always has prepped up and ready to go. There's a lot that in that AFC side that Denver, you got to go to Denver. Odds are you're going to Denver, and playing in the Mile High Stadium is a rough thing to do. So, yeah, I think the conversation does have to be made. Maybe he just isn't the primetime over the hump QB. But yes, like you said, he is the best quarterback in the playoffs right now. I think he can be the best QB in the playoffs. But yeah, they've got to get him a more dominant weapon on the outside.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us thought it was going to be Keon Coleman, but he's been kind of a bust, if you will, at this point, which is disappointing to say the least, because a lot of us were pretty excited about Keon Coleman, but he's definitely not been the answer for it. So to be really interesting to see if maybe the Bills are a team that's really aggressive in free agency. And, honestly, we haven't seen an alpha wide receiver in that offense since Stephon Diggs was there. But even that wasn't enough. So it'll be interesting to see. I think we'll know a little bit more about what their plan is moving forward after the season. But I think, again, I still think that's a team that I could see emerge. I think when you look at offenses in the AFC that can put up 45 points every week without question, I don't really see a whole lot outside of the Bills that are going to potentially do that consistently. I think there's a lot of really good defenses in the AFC and a lot of offenses that just do enough. So it'll be interesting. I think that's the best offense in the AFC side of the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see if that's enough for Josh Allen to get it done or not.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, Brent, let's hit these underdogs and our touchdown scores for the day and see what kind of lame duck lineups we're able to put together with all the mismatches. You ready?
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
All right, Brent, walk me through your underdog card for this week.
All right, I'm gonna go with my three studs, as I'm gonna call them, in this, and then I'll go with my two backups. I got CJ Stroud to go higher than 212.5 passing yards. I think Houston Texan wants to win this game. I know he's without Nico, but I think he's still gonna find Dalton Schultz and the two rookies and see what he's got outside of that. So I do think he's gonna air the ball out, and I think they're really gonna go for that division. I got Caleb Williams to go higher than 240.5 passing yards. He's 270 yards away from being the first Bears QB to have 4,000 passing yards. So I think that they're going to let him get the ball out in the air. I think that, in order to keep up that Lions offense, you may have to air it out. So I do think Caleb Williams throws the ball. And then I got Cortland Sutton higher than 55.5 receiving yards. they're playing for that 1 seed. I think that they're going to focus, they're going to try to get the ball. They're going to try to get that win. So I think he'll be a good focal point. And then I got Jordan Mason with Aaron Jones out. I got Jordan Mason higher than 69.5 rush yards. He'll be the RB1 in that offense. He'll be the RB1 for that team, and he'll get a lot of work. And then I got, with a lot of weapons still with the backups, I got Tanner McKee to go higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns. I think with Dotson and those backup tight ends and a few other guys out there on the field, I think he'll still find it.
Dotson being listed as a weapon is definitely
it's a revenge game. It's a revenge game for Dotson.
That's a giggle factor. For me, I'll start with the one that loops in with what you've got. I've got Luther Burden higher than 57.5 receiving yards. As a Mizzou Tigers fan and how much I love Luther Burden last season, I'm eating it up. I'm definitely watching way more Bears games than I ever have in the past just because of him. So I've got him to do that. Then I've got my first. I'll stick with my non-backups, I guess, and I'll save my backup for last. I've got Adonai Mitchell to go higher than 38.5 receiving yards, catching passes from Brady Cook. They've been doing it for a few weeks now. Garbage time. Everything with the Jets is garbage time. I think that gets done pretty easy. Got Mark Andrews in a must-win game for the Ravens, higher than 28.5 receiving yards. Lamar Jackson is going to play. We'll see if he can play more than 2 quarters and cost me a chance of the championship, but he is going to play today. Higher than 28.5 for Mark Andrews. And then Tony Pollard, you looked it up for me prior to the start, 66 yards away from an incentive. For Tony Pollard, I've got him to go higher than 65.5 rushing yards. He's been really good for the Titans, and that Titans offense has kind of started to come on a little bit here down the stretch. I've got him there. And then last but not least, I've got Jaden Blue higher than 56.5 rushing yards for the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are playing their starters outside of Javonte Williams today. So Jaden Blue to go higher than 56.5 rushing yards today.
Well, I guess we'll jump right into our TD scores too, because I'm going to roll right on with Jaden Blue to score a touchdown today. We know how much they love to give it to him on the goal line, and with Lamb and Pickens out there, they'll probably get a PI call in the end zone and be on that 1 yard line. And Blue will have an easy time to punch it in. I got Derrick Henry. They realized, if we just feed this man like 70 times in a game, we could probably win. So I got Derrick Henry to find the end zone. I got Trey McBride in a game where they're going to try to compete and try to upset the Rams and move them down. I think Trey McBride finds it, and also with Marvin Harrison out. And then I got Kyron Williams to also find the end zone for the Rams there in a must-win game. I know that him and Corum are both listed as questionable, but I assume they're both going to play because they probably want the in my mind, they probably want the easier matchup of the NFC South rather than possibly going to see Philly or Chicago. So no offense to your division, but I think that's I would play for that. I would play the Panthers or the Bucks over the Eagles in Chicago.
None taken. I've watched it all year, Brant. None taken. For my touchdown scores, I will start with the best player in my division. I've got Bijan Robinson to find the end zone against the New Orleans Saints today. There's not much more that would make me mad as a Falcons fan, but losing to the Aints. So even though I hate Tampa Bay, even though I don't love Carolina, I want to beat the Aints, even though I want my whole coaching staff to be fired. I want the front office to be fired. Sucks to root for a win today, but I'm going to. I've got Chase Brown to find the end zone for the Cincinnati Bengals today. He's been the best running back in football the last 6-7 weeks. Every week, he's just looked like a maniac. I've got Kyle Monungai to find the end zone for the Chicago Bears. And last but not least, I've got Derrick Henry, the guy who either won a lot of people championships or cost a lot of people championships last week in fantasy. I've got him to find the end zone in another must-win game for the Ravens. It's like they've waited till the last couple weeks of the season to go, hey, we should probably feed this guy the rock. But that's who I've got finding the end zone today. So.
Okay, absolutely. So I did write down a little bit more of a time filler here. I got some motivated teams out there. You got Houston, you got Jacksonville, you got Denver all playing for stuff. New England is also, and then you also have some teams that are facing resting defenses that you may be playing in fantasy. Denver's probably going to be facing a resting defense there. Minnesota, and then Washington is also facing a resting defense. And then we'll roll over to teams that could rest players. Green Bay, Philly, the Chargers, and the Rams all could be resting players today.
Okay. All right. We got a last comment here. It looks like Zach says, as a Packers fan, I want a Bears W today. So still not wanting to see the Lions do anything.
That's fair. That's fair. That Bears team is, outside of last week, that defense has looked phenomenal all year, and the offense was starting to click, and they were starting to be a really scary team, and then they got exploited last week. And then, so let's see if they can get back on track this week. Man, I really thought they were going to shock the Niners and shut them down after a pick six to open the game, and then it was just a shootout from there.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right, Brent, I think that kind of sums it up for us today. Actually, one last thing we always have to talk about. What's on the menu for you this week?
On the menu, we got a cowboy chili mac. It's kind of like a soup type thing with some noodles in there. And it's kind of a crock pot dump meal. We're going to do that tonight. And then I'm going to get in here and I'm going to make some desserts during the 12 o'clock game. So I can really feed my sweet tooth. We're going to do some, my wife's I got her the slushy machine and she found some cheesecake slushies that she's going to make. And anyone that knows me, cheesecake is my kryptonite. I love it. So I'll probably end up drinking that whole eating. I'm not even sure how it's going to turn out. But yeah, no, we're going to do a bunch of sweets today with kind of a soup on the side. So it's nothing too special today. But yeah, we're getting it together. We're still getting our lives together from me being gone in Carolina, then plus all the holidays. So we're still putting our lives and house back together.
Yeah, it's pretty similar here. We've got some buffalo chicken dip on the slate for lunch, kind of cleaning out the fridge with some leftovers around that. And then we're doing pizzas for dinner. So nothing super special here this week either. I probably won't do anything super crazy again until either championship weekend or the Super Bowl, but we'll have to get on and do one that day just so we can talk about how good eats we've got for the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, I'm super pumped for that. I got a new cast iron skillet for Christmas, so I can't wait to break that in. And I got my griddle out there that's been calling my name. I haven't touched it for a while. And then I got the smoker yeah. I think Super Bowl. I think I'm going to go all out this year, unless my father has said if Seattle makes it, we're going. So unless I'm going to San Fran, then I'm going to be making a bunch of food here.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, anyway, I think that does do it for us on week 18. Guys, thanks for tuning in with us this season. Brant and I will be starting back doing our lives either this Wednesday or next Wednesday, doing our weekly off-season stuff. That way you guys are ready for next season. As you heard, there's a couple people come on here, so thanks for help with the ships. Those people are tuning into us all off-season, getting their targets ready for the season. Come hang out this off-season. Come give us a chance. If you got something you want to hear talked about in the off-season, drop us a message. We'll talk about it. But Brant and I have taken some weeks off of doing that to get a little bit recharged. We've been doing this podcast and stuff for about 6 years now. So we needed a little bit of a reset, but we're ready to jump back into it. We've got some really good content ideas. We're ready to hit it hard this off season. So we hope to see you guys coming to hang out with us. We're going to try to do 8 p.m. Eastern time Wednesdays for most of our lives this off season. So come to hang out with us and get yourself some fantasy insight over the off season.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for tuning in. We look forward to talking to you guys and hanging out this off season during our cast. Congratulations to you guys all that won the ships or we're moving on. Good luck to anyone that might be playing today. Good luck to anyone's teams that are playing, except for the Saints. No good luck for them because I'd rather see Carolina in the playoffs. I'm not a big Tampa Bay guy. But as always, stay hungry.
Stay fat.